Good morning, everyone, and welcome to EverC's first ever Safer Ecommerce Day. My name is Aileen McDonough, and I am the Director of Content here at EverC, and I am very proud to welcome you, and I'm going to start you off with some quick logistical details. First of all, we will be recording today, and we will be also providing some curated content that we'll send out to registrants after the webinar. So if you missed it or if you have a colleague who can't make it, feel free to have them register and they will still get the content. I also want to personally invite all of you to follow us on LinkedIn because we will be sharing content there, and I would not be a good marketing content director if I didn't remind you to do that. You won't want to miss the content that we'll be sharing on LinkedIn because there will be some great selections there as well. Now, after each session ends, you will be placed back in the lobby landing page for the event. So to enter the next session, you will need to click the orange join button next to the session title listed. If you have any questions, feel free to use the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. Be fielded during the day, and if we don't get to answer yours, we'll reach out to you directly afterwards to provide an answer to your question. We want to thank you for joining our mission. We strongly believe that safer e-commerce means a safer world. So it's very important for us to have all of you with us today, and we have some amazing speakers we're very excited to welcome. But first, I want to welcome our Vice President of Industry, Melissa Sutherland, who leads our knowledge team and is really the best person to talk about this. So it's my honor to introduce her so she can really get us started. Melissa, you ready?
Let's do it. Thanks, Elaine. Before you worked in payments, did you ever wonder how it works? Did you ever have that awful experience at a checkout counter when somebody's credit card declined and everybody assumes the person has no money, but then you work in payments for a while and you realize it's probably an auth issue, a communication issue, some hardware issues. Did you ever wonder how your transactions got from your credit card to the merchant? Did you actually think about the place where you're shopping as a merchant? I didn't. All I knew was swiping, tapping, clicking, dipping, and the joy of the approval, and off I went with my purchase. But then I discovered payments, and now all me and my colleagues can do is sit around and debate endlessly how it works, why it works, how do criminals use the rails, how can we disrupt our commerce, emerging markets, how cool is the payments landscape? You can put a credit card or enable a payment in a watch, in your car, soon in your glasses, thinking about things. It's absolutely incredible, but then we have to think about the darkness of it. How awesome would it be if we could somehow figure out a way to not allow criminals and victims to meet? And ultimately, who's responsible for protecting the consumer? These are some of the themes that we're going to touch on throughout the day. What we do know for sure is that for us to enable the best payments ecosystem, we all have to accept that we carry the burden of fighting bad actors. We know that for us to do this, we have to invest in our fraud fighting communities. We must elevate the needs of our customers above the needs of us winning deals and competing. Don't tell my sales team I said that. There is a tremendous amount of paths that bad actors walk to get into your ecosystems, and everyone in this fight has ample work to do. So in the payments ecosystem, there's been a few moments in time that forced us to look around and question if we were doing everything possible to prevent bad actor infiltration. I think 9/11 was a watershed moment in the payments ecosystem that took us from being payment enablers to compliance vigilantes. It forced us to rethink our position in space and time. 2008 shook us again. Were we doing as much as we could do? And now we have October 7th. The world wakes up on a Saturday morning to the most horrific scenes splashed across everyone's screens. And again, the financial services industry is on international notice for its role in terror money movement. And the questions are being asked: Are we compromised? Are we vulnerable? Did we do everything we could do to prevent? Did we take our eye off the compliance goal? There's rough waters ahead. There's going to be a lot of questions asked. And we need to ensure that our fraud fighting community is ready to tackle the questions. And FinCEN jumps in on October 20th and publishes an alert indicators on suspicious money movement. The 13 days after the attack, we have now a new SARS qualification, data field 2, Terra financing Hamas, incredibly fast for FinCEN to move. It's an amazing sign that the law enforcement community is coming with us on the journey to combat this. The alert calls out some key building blocks to possible terror financing activities. And it illustrates to us as a community that we can't think about terror financing as a single source entry point. This is a complex supply chain. The notion that risk is measured in terms of suspicious signals or behaviors is paramount to our ability to disrupt illicit finance. Specifically, the alert highlights the vulnerabilities of MSBs, money service businesses, which is no shock to any of us. It's cash-intense business. It pulls out virtual currencies, highlights high-risk jurisdictions, and it talks about NPOs, nonprofit organizations. These are all points of vulnerability, but they're points of vulnerability across a supply chain where an entry point is not necessarily a one-to-one. There could be multiple hubs. So it's forcing us to rethink this one-to-one notion and come into a broader ecosystem of disruption. In some of these cases, organizations may post on social media platforms, jump over to an encrypted message to solicit donations. And the idea that we now need to know how our customer engages with their customers and customers it's no longer a nice to know. We need to broaden the way that we're thinking about this disruption effort. So, which leads us to today, Safer Ecommerce Day. So why do we do this? Because money movement is the most influential and meaningful ecosystem. It's such an awesome ecosystem to work in because we know how tirelessly payments guardians work. We're part of your ecosystem, we get it. Because if we build a community, we enable education, data sharing, and disruption. Ultimately, we want everyone to leave today thinking more broadly about their space in time and how they impact change. If you continue to think about Aileen and myself, that's fantastic, but we are simply facilitators. Training opportunities without sales pitches are super rare. We want to make sure that everybody across this value chain is thinking more broadly about the impact that they have. Because we get to hang out with some of the most brilliant crime fighters in our ecosystem. Because we want you to know that you are not a cost center. You should not be the first team to be impacted by layoffs. You're going to learn later on today from some of our speakers that trust and safety teams had to scramble to combat global threat actors planting conspiracy theories about the conflict on a variety of platforms. So we know that 2023 has been a really, really, really tough year, and a lot of teams have been impacted by layoffs. Sadly, it usually impacts our side of the house first. I'm always the first to argue that the work that people on our side of the house do save lives. So if you cut our budgets and if you cut us out of your landscape, you are going to cost people their lives. Our monumental task is to recognize the link between the sale of illicit goods and services and terror networks. Gone are the days of bad actors being single lone wolves, sitting in their parents' basements doing random bad things. We're fighting highly sophisticated crime rings that know our world as well as we do. They don't have budget constraints. They rarely have layoffs, and they are incentivized to be very good at what they do. The true north for us as guardians of the money movement rails is to never forget that our work disrupts bad actors, stops the flow of dark money, and we protect the vulnerable. So that was a light intro and a framework for today, and we're going to kick off our day of sensational content with world thought leaders. We have compliance, we have counterterrorism, we have anti-counterfeiting, we have payments acceptance, regulators, attorneys, and my favorite folks from academia coming in to make everyone feel awesome about themselves. So what I'm going to ask that we do is we're going to jump into this session, go to the next one in the lobby, and I'll kick off with an introduction to our first speaker, Carrie Camel. All that glitters is not gold.
Awesome.
See you in a moment.
See you in a bit.